Hello and welcome to the news on the hour on NTA International. I am Lydia Odiji Ochi. Thank you for joining us. The highlights. Ghanaian president visits Nigeria, felicitates with President Mohammed Buhari on his second term in office. Police authority advocates tougher legislations to curb kidnapping and banditry. United Nations marks World Environment Day with premium on reduction on air pollution. And now the details. President Muhammadu Buhari hosts President Nana Akufo-Addo of Ghana this Wednesday. The Ghanaian president, who is on a private visit, arrives at about 3:30 p.m. at the presidential villa in Abuja. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports that the two leaders had private talks for about an hour behind closed doors. President Akufo-Addo, in a brief chat with NTA News, says he is in the country to congratulate President Muhammadu Buhari on his re-election for a second term.
Nigeria-Ghana is a very important connection for both our countries. I came first of all to congratulate Mr. President on his re-election and to wish him well for his second term, and then to talk about some bilateral matters.
Also on hand to receive the Ghanaian president are the Chief of Staff, Abba Kyari, and the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Mustafa Lawal Suleiman. Nigeria's permanent representative to the UN, Professor Tijani Mohammed Bundy, is addressing a press conference after his election earlier as the 74th President of the United Nations General Assembly, PGA. Let's get details of the election process from our correspondent, Joy Osiago in New York, as she reports that Professor Bundy is the second Nigerian to be elected as PGA 30 years after General Joe Garba.
A resounding applause for Professor Tijani Mohammed Bundy as he is elected to take over the mantle of leadership of the upcoming 74th United Nations General Assembly in September. Professor Bundy was elected by acclamation.
Declaro al excelentísimo señor Tijani Mohammed Bundy de Nigeria elegido por aclamación presidente de la Asamblea General en su 74º periodo de sesiones.
The implementation of existing mandates and the 2030 agenda, with particular focus on peace and security, poverty eradication, zero hunger, quality education, climate action and inclusion will constitute the major priority of my presidency. As the United Nations has not met the expectations of its founding fathers in terms of preventing many violent conflicts and mass atrocities, we have to assume collective responsibility to make the world a better, safer, and more peaceful one.
And as a Nigerian and an African, you have invaluable insights into the continent's challenges, such as the Sahel and the Lake Chad Basin, and more broadly, into the challenges our world faces across the three pillars of our work: peace, sustainable development, and human rights.
The delegation from Nigeria and many Nigerian diplomats and some of their colleagues at the United Nations were at the General Assembly Hall to celebrate Nigeria and Africa.
These candidates represent not only just the ECOWAS that has endorsed him, but also the Africa Union and then the continent as a whole that endorsed him. But also it tells you about the clouds, the experience, the knowledge that the candidate himself is going to bring to bear in the work. And you have had the testimonies of all the representatives of the regions, including even the United States of America, that this candidate is the perfect choice, and he is bringing a lot of knowledge and experience to do. So we are happy that this has taken place at this moment.
It's a very important day for Nigeria. When you consider that this is happening with our international relations about 30 years after it first happened with the late General Joseph Garba. So the support for it, the enthusiasm for it at the highest level of government cannot be measured.
From the United Nations headquarters in New York, Joy Osiago, NTA News.
40 bodies have been recovered from the River Nile in the Sudanese capital, Khartoum, following a violent crackdown on pro-democracy protests. For this and other trending stories across the globe, over now to Joyce Ometu.
The number of people allegedly killed in a crackdown on pro-democracy protests in the Sudanese capital, Khartoum, has risen to 60, an opposition group says. Violence began when the forces of the Transitional Military Council allegedly opened fire on unarmed protesters on Monday. The military has, however, faced international condemnation for the attack. Meanwhile, world leaders, including U.S. President Donald Trump, have joined the Queen in Portsmouth to commemorate the 75th anniversary of the D-Day landings. Theresa May has hosted 15 world leaders to honor the largest combined land, air, and naval operation in history. Mr. Trump said he was looking forward to marking what may have been the greatest battle ever. D-Day is a military term for the first day of an operation. On 6 June 1944, troops from the UK, the US, Canada and France attacked German forces on the coast of northern France. It was the largest military naval, air and land operation ever attempted and marked the start of the campaign to liberate Nazi-occupied northwest Europe. Meanwhile, police have raided the Sydney headquarters of the Australian Broadcasting Corps in a second day of searches targeting journalists. Officers arrived at the public broadcaster with search warrants naming 2 reporters and the news director. The ABC had protested the raid. The police action is related to articles about alleged misconduct by Australian forces in Afghanistan. Joyce Ometu, NTA News.
Today is World Environment Day, and the theme is Beat Air Pollution. Mia Ogidi reports on Nigeria's tale of polluted air and the efforts so far.
Man's existence comes to an end the moment he stops taking in oxygen. However, the clean or polluted nature of the air he takes in determines the state of his health. For instance, in Nigeria, the high flames from the oil rigs in the south and those from the north and parts of the west with the poisonous gases claim many lives on a daily basis, and those living face many health issues due to the polluted nature of the air.
Fungal infections, then things like chickenpox, measles can also come up at this time.
This is Port Harcourt, Rivers State in Nigeria, and the residents here face black suits as a result of the extremely contaminated nature of the air, which experts attribute to the activities of open-air gas flaring. So, in 1974, when the United Nations declared June 5 every year as World Environment Day, experts were excited because this provides an opportunity to look at the various sectors within the environment family. The focus of 2019 World Environment Day is beating air pollution. And this really captures some of the realities on ground in the environment family. For instance, the government of Nigeria has taken some steps to ensure that the air is safe for its citizens to breathe. In this light, the signing into law of the NESRA Act 2019 provides opportunity for the regulating agency to ensure that gases emitted from vehicles and generating sets are regulated, and those found wanting will be taken to the court.
They must abide by the law. So we have a set out regulations. So if they don't abide by that, we are going to enforce our regulations.
And the laws governing open-air gas flaring have also been reviewed to discourage multinational oil companies in embarking on open-air gas flaring in the country. Beating air pollution, no doubt, will mitigate climate change in the world. Mia Ogidi.
Our next set of reports concern security. The Nigerian Air Force says its sustained air offensive against remnants of Islamic State of West Africa province fighters on the fringes of Lake Chad has yielded additional results as the Air Task Force of Operation Lafia Dole has on 5th June destroyed terrorist structures and logistics facilities at Tumbun Kayowa in northern Borno State. The Director of Public Relations and Information, Air Commodore Ibikunle Daramola, says the operation was executed following confirmation by a Nigerian Air Force intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance platform that some terrorists were harbored along with their logistics items and facilities in some structures well camouflaged under dense vegetation within the location. Accordingly, the ATF scrambled 2 Alpha jets to attack the location, recording direct hits on the structures and logistics facilities, which were seen engulfed in flames. Several ISWAP fighters were equally neutralized as a result of the strikes. The NAF, operating in concert with surface forces, says it will sustain the effort to completely degrade the terrorists in the northeast. Meanwhile, the Zamfara state government has appealed for the deployment of more troops to identify black spots in the state. The state governor, Mohammed, made the appeal when he received the representative of the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai, on operational visit. Defense correspondent Ismail Musa has details.
Visit like this to troops locations in Zamfara state during festivity is a morale booster. After the 2 rakat prayers, the guest delivered the Chief of Army Staff message to troops of 1 brigade, urging them to be proactive and offensive in dealing with bandits and kidnappers that have truncated socioeconomic activities in parts of the state.
So no foreigner would like us more than we like ourselves. We must be ready to do the needful to finish with these bandits and criminals that are preventing our people from living their normal life.
While receiving the Army Chief in Zamfara State Government House, the State Governor Mohammed promised to complete the ongoing barracks project within the next 100 days and provide the needed logistics to support Army's operations in the state.
We have a major problem in between Goldenbori to Faru up to Talata Mafara. It's a brand new road that is inaccessible road for now because bandit has already taken over that areas.
The representative of the Chief of Army Staff had lunch with troops. From Gusau, Zamfara State, Ismail Musa, NTA.
Still on security, the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, has appealed for tougher legislations against kidnapping and banditry, including possible state seizure of assets linked to illicit proceeds from kidnapping and other heinous crimes to ensure a strong disincentive to potential kidnappers and other violent criminals. The IGP made the appeal while addressing a delegation of the Association of Local Governments of Nigeria, ALGON, Nasarawa State Chapter, led by Alhaji Aminu Muazu Meifata, who paid him the traditional Salah visit in his official quarters in Abuja. He noted that the call has become necessary against the increasingly daring resort to these forms of crimes by criminal elements in the society. A statement by the Force Public Relations Officer, DCP Frank Umba, said the IGP also seized the opportunity of the visit to brief the visitors on the successes recorded by Operation Puff Adder in the ongoing fight against criminal elements across the country, saying that since the launch of Operation Puff Adder on 5th April 2019 till date, about 63 kidnapped victims have been rescued unhurt by police operatives. And now to the Salah celebration. Residents of Abuja celebrated this year's Salah with peace and unity all the way. Adebola Brookslyn Sunday was at the Millennium Park, where adherents of the 2 major religions in the country took advantage of the Eid al-Fitr holiday to celebrate together.
One of the similarities between Christianity and Islam is a special period dedicated to fasting and prayers, a period for sober reflection to seek forgiveness of sins and pray for a brighter future. Activities marking the end of such religious exercises are characterized by public holidays. That is where love, unity, and shared values in Nigerians come to play. Irrespective of religious, ethnic, or social affinity, they come out as one to celebrate. This Salah period is no different, as exemplified at the Abuja Millennium Park. Inside the park, families and friends form clusters to enjoy the day. In what may be described as love feast, they dined and wined in the spirit of the season. Despite the fact that the event is synonymous to Islam, Christians are not left out, as children and teenagers displayed their talents on the dance floor.
Place of unity. So let there be oneness. Coming from different states, coming to Abuja here to work or for business shows that Nigeria is a great country.
What matters is peace and unity, and I also greet the Christian and Muslim for Eid al-Kabir.
I'm happy because people are celebrating with me.
As they marry, members of an Islamic society, Jaswan, emphasized on the sustainability of lessons learned during the holy month. The message from these fun seekers is that the mode of worship and prayers may be different. People serve the same God. Adebola, Brooklyn Sunday, NTA News.
You're watching the news on NTA International. Stay tuned for more news after the break. Salah Celebration is standing by with news from the financial sector.
Welcome to Business News. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, says with 3,500 million standard cubic feet per day of additional gas to be supplied from 7 critical gas development projects, that the nation's economy can create up to 7 million jobs and boost the GDP by about $5 billion. The NNPC says the projects, which are at different stages of development, would help bridge the supply gap in the domestic market. And the International Monetary Fund says it welcomes Mozambique's agreement in principle to restructure its debts with private creditors, but added the heavily indebted country needed a wide-range plan to ensure long-term debt sustainability. Meanwhile, global economic growth is forecast to ease by 2.6% in 2019. The World Bank, in its mid-year global economic prospects, projects that growth in emerging markets and developing economies is expected to stabilize next year as some countries move past periods of financial strain. For sub-Saharan Africa, growth is expected to accelerate to 3.3% in 2020. Per capita GDP is expected to rise in the region, with growth in Angola anticipated to pick up to 2.9%, Nigeria anticipated to edge up to 2.2%, and South Africa 1.5%. That's the package. I'm Chiazalam Eki.
And now sports. Super Eagles coach optimistic of victory against Zimbabwe in Asaba, Amanzima, Nigeria, and other cities of the world. That's the news at this hour on NTA International. Thank you for your time. I am Lydia Ojiji Ochi. Bye for now.